Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to our Empty Nest Adventures. Well, today we're going to take out our RV, Gracie the Gray Nomad, and we're going to stop at two very different camping experiences. The first we're going to stop at is a Jellystone Park. And now Jellystone is a chain of parks known to be very family friendly, lots of amenities. We're actually going there with our grandchildren, and we're going to compare that with...
We're going to go to Proud Lake Recreation Area, which is a state park here in Michigan. It's very quiet, none of the amenities. Which one do you think we preferred? So welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And today we're living that full life, trying two very different camping experiences in Gracie the Gray Nomad, our Super C RV.
Well, the first we're going to go to is Jellystone. Now, many of you have heard of Jellystone. Again, it's very family friendly. Why are we going to Jellystone as empty nesters? Well, the reason for that is our son-in-law, his family does an annual trip to Jellystone, and we were invited to go along. So our grandkids are going to be there. We'd never stayed at a Jellystone Park. It looks like fun. So we thought we'd give it a try and join in on the fun and have some great family time as well.
Yeah. Now, the park is actually only about 2 hours south of our house. It's right across the Indiana border at Barton Lake. Well, we booked 3 nights at Jellystone. In fact, that was the most we could because the very next day we had to get up to the Detroit area for a barbecue competition we're judging. That's why we stayed at the state park we mentioned. So we booked those 3 days at Jellystone. Now, 3 days at Jellystone, and I'm going to look at my notes here to make sure I get it right. So the 3 nights were $134 a night for camping.
A night.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's not all. There's also a $40 site lock fee. In other words, if you pick your site that you know you want to go at, they charge you $40 to pick your site.
And we wanted to be all together with the family and where they're located, so we were all in a group.
Right. And in addition to that, there's a $45 resort fee. I mean, I guess they think they're Las Vegas now with resort fees. And then on top of that, there was $22 of tax. Basically, the whole 3 nights at Jellystone was $510.
Yeah, that's pricey. It's
Yeah.
pricey. But
Yeah.
let's talk about what we get for that.
That's right.
Because really there are a lot of amenities. This was a pretty cool resort. I guess I can't call it all-inclusive because you're bringing your own food and you have to clean and you're bringing your own sheets and all of that.
Well, yeah, and in fact, our daughter and her husband, they don't have an RV, so they stayed in one of the cabins there, and it was outrageously expensive. Now, again, this is family time. It's worth it. This is a once-a-year thing that we do. So it is a great time. We'll kind of preface by saying that, but just brace yourself that it is expensive. And like you said, staying in the cabins, you got to bring your own sheets and bedding and all. It's just a cabin is what you're getting, and so yeah, the cost at a Jellystone can be pretty outrageous.
Well, let's talk about what you get for that hefty price. Now, there really are a lot of amenities, and let's begin there with the amenities.
Yeah.
And the first that we spent a lot of time at was the toddler splash pad. This was a lot of fun. Our grandkids are all 4 and under, and they just had a ball here.
Oh, you're right. I mean, they just spent so much time there. And in fact, it's very adult friendly as well from a standpoint that you can just pull up a pool chair. They're all like PVC pool chairs and stuff. You can pull it up and sit right in the splash pad if you want. The kids would run in the mushroom and the pouring bucket and the
little teeter-totter.
Yeah, the teeter-totter. They love that. So, I mean, they have all kinds of stuff in these splash pads or in these play areas. And yeah, they had a great time.
Now, they've also got a splash pad for older children as well that has a big dumping bucket. It has lots of things to climb on. We were in there for a little bit, but the kids really enjoyed the toddler one.
Yeah, our kids were a little younger for that. Now their cousins who are older, they really enjoyed that bigger splash pad.
They did. Well, in addition to the splash pads, they have 4 other pools. One of them is even an indoor pool.
Yeah, we had a great time there, and the kids. So each of the pools, I'd say, kind of almost has a personality. You know,
a good way.
the indoor pool I think was a little quieter. The pool right next to the splash pad was kind of indicated as a toddler, younger kids pool, and then one of the other ones outside, or the 2 other ones, it was a little wilder. You know, more older kids, adults, things like that. So you kind of pick the pool that goes, you know, with what you're trying to do.
Right. Another thing they had were these big jumping pillows. They were huge. The multiple people could get on one of the jumping pillows at the same time and just jump and have it like a trampoline.
Yeah, one would jump and push the other one up. And,
Yeah,
it was,
so that was great fun.
yeah, that was actually pretty impressive. Those massive pillows, yeah.
And in this same area here, they also had water slides. I mean, some really tall water slides. The big drop water slide, a spinning water slide, and I did not go on those.
No, but the cousins did. They
Yeah.
were our grandkids were a little young for them, but the cousins were there.
Now they had pedal cars too, which were fun for kids to do. There's a lot of trail area over there. This is a big place, and so you could take those little pedal cars all around the whole resort area. Along with that too, they have a little mini golf area, which would be fun for the kids. There is a beach, like the lake is there, and there's actually a beach where you could go and swim in the lake and get in, and so that'd be a good place to go for the kids. They had various sports courts as well, so if you played pickleball or basketball, they had courts there. They also had planned activities on different days. For instance, they had a little Build-A-Bear workshop one day where the kids could stuff an animal, kind of like at a Build-A-Bear store.
No, that was at an extra cost.
It was at an extra cost. I think a lot of their planned activities were at an extra cost. You could go and paint a ceramic item. The grandkids did tree ornaments. I think one did a magnet. They also had little figurines that they could paint. They had tie-dye, which I painted this tie-dye shirt here.
Yeah, you got your Jellystone tie-dye on here. Yeah.
Little hint, this was actually less expensive to pay for the tie-dye and get the shirt than it was to go to the gift shop and buy a t-shirt in the gift shop.
Yeah, so a little Jellystone pro tip
Yeah,
here.
so I had fun with this. Got to be a little crafty here. And when the grandkids were taking a nap, one of the things Mike and I would do is we get our e-bikes out and go on all the paths there in the resort area. So really there is no lack of something to do. Yeah. Oh, and bingo. They also had bingo there.
Oh, they did. That's right. Yeah.
So just a lot.
And they had like a hayride kind of thing too, right? Like a tractor. They called it a train ride, but it was kind of, it was on the roads and all that. Yeah. So lots and lots of things to do. Some things were an extra fee. A lot of things were included, unless, like you said, you got something like a T-shirt out of it or something.
A ceramic item.
Yeah, so lots and lots of things to do. And as far as the sites themselves go, they had 30 or 50 amp hookups, no lack of 50 amp hookups, full hookups, sewer, water, everything like that. And the sites were really pretty level and paved. So
really nice.
Yeah, I mean the park itself, when you think about pulling in your RV or something, was very nice, right? There was no problems with any of the facilities themselves as far as RV camping. And if you need it, they also had lots of bathrooms, showers, laundry facilities, all those kind of things that if you didn't have an RV that had a built-in shower, those kind of things, or just didn't want to use it, the shower houses and all that were there to use.
In addition to that, though, they have cabins that can accommodate all different sizes of parties. They have tent camping areas. I mean, really most everything here.
Well, that's the pros. Let's get into the cons just a little bit. I would say the first one is, and again, we were there in the summer, which is, of course, when most people are going to go and do this type of camping. There were several very large groups of families or, acquaintances. I don't know who they were. One group was as large as, I think we heard 30 people, 40 people, with multiple campers and, taking up a lot of different areas. And unfortunately, and this could be an isolated incident, but I almost got the impression it wasn't, that this is just kind of how it is there, it was really loud. And I mean, people are partying and, you know, they've got these golf carts running all over the place. One guy had this massive speaker in the golf cart just blaring music as loud as he could play it, you know, driving around the campgrounds. Now, granted, he wasn't doing it at 11 o'clock at night.
No, they didn't.
But it was like 7
hours.
Well, yeah, it was like 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. We actually spoke with a camper next to us, and you know, we said something about, wow, there's just a lot of people really partying here. And he kind of rolled his eyes and said, well, I think that's one of our groups. We have 30 people here. And they said, but we only do this once a year. So, you know, it's you know, this is our big time to party. And I will be blunt with you, you know, I immediately thought, yeah, this is our once a year time with our grandkids and our family here too. And we're not running around in a golf cart blaring music at 150 decibels, you know? And so, you know, again, this gets back to everyone needs to respect all the other campers when we're camping. But I got the impression that this was not unusual for Jellystone.
Right. There is a lot of loud partying going on at some of the pool areas, not the toddler splash pad, but some of the pool areas. And there did not seem to be I don't know, what do I want to say here? Just the supervision or the park rangers, I don't think really had...
no real oversight.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, and in fact, if you look back at our video when we went to Normandy Farms in the Dynamax Rally, you know, Normandy Farms certainly was a very high-end resort as well. You know, they had, you know, multiple people at every pool, in every area, and they had rules posted, and they were actually really... They enforced them, and they made no bones about it. So I think that's one of the cons here is that, and again, this could just be Bartlett Lake, Jellystone. It may not be the same in Dallas or other places, but certainly I would call that a con that, you know, I felt like a lot of the partying and things, you know, with young kids there, which is the target audience, I almost felt like there was a bit of a disconnect there with that type of partying. You know, the other thing was, we mentioned the golf carts. Well, you can't bring your own golf cart. So even if you have a golf cart, they don't allow it. You have to rent one there. They're not cheap. I think, what were they, 85 a day?
I was going to say 90, so we're close in that area.
Yeah, but $85, $90 a day. And you know, so we brought our e-bikes, and that's fine. You can bring those, and we got around just fine riding our e-bikes. But so there is that, and supposedly, you know, you have to be over 16 or something to drive the golf carts, but we saw many times kids running around in golf carts. And speaking of e-bikes, now that e-scooters, things like that have become so prevalent, and e-bikes, there were a lot of kids, and I mean like 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds on these scooters, and I mean moving through the campground at, you know, 15, 20, you know, miles an hour on these scooters. You really have to watch out because they're not watching.
That's right.
You know, so again, this gets to some of the just having so many kids and families there that it was a lot, let's put it this way, it was a lot wilder than I expected.
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
Well, Nancy, that's the pros, the cons. I mean, how did you like it? What did you think overall?
You know, overall, I had a lot of fun. I mean, it was great. We were with the grandkids. We were with our son-in-law's family, and so we just had a ball. I mean, I had a super time. You know, despite the noise, despite the kind of the chaos. And one of the fun things I forgot to mention with the amenities here is the meet and greet with the Jellystone characters here, that they have a meet and greet every morning. And the grandkids just loved it, getting to go and see Cindy and the ranger.
Yeah, unfortunately, Yogi did not make an appearance.
Yeah.
We were told Yogi had a cold. The person that plays the Yogi character. So no, I would agree with you. You know, and in fact, we can't wait to go and go back again with our you know, in-laws family and do this again. We had an absolutely wonderful time overall. You know, would we go without grandkids or anything to a Jellystone?
No.
I don't think there's any way. I mean, you know, that we would do that just ourselves. Even if you set aside the fact that, frankly, there were people in there treating this like a Carnival booze cruise, you know, you know, that we would probably do this, but going with grandkids, going with family, I think it was a great time.
It was fun. But Mike, let's talk about how this compares with our simple state park stay.
Right. So we left Jellystone and drove directly up to Proud Lake State Park. As we mentioned, we had a barbecue competition that weekend. We stayed a total of 4 nights at Proud Lake. And so 2 weekend nights, 2 weekday nights. The 2 weekday nights were $27 a night, strikingly
Big difference.
different. And the weekend nights were $35 a night, and there was, I think, an $8 online booking fee. So for a total of let me just double check, for $132, we actually stayed 4 nights. That's not even the amount of just one camping fee for 1 night at Jellystone. So certainly cost-wise, your state parks are a huge value in comparison to that. Now let's talk a little bit about the site, kind of compare sites. At Jellystone, they were level, they were asphalted, they were,
You had full hookups.
Yeah,
there.
full hookups. So at the state park, we had 30 amp electrical, so no 50 or anything, no water and no sewer. However, the sites were the largest sites I've ever seen at any camping ground we've ever been to. I mean, they were massive sites. We could have parked Gracie in there sideways in our site.
Yeah, exactly.
And we almost had to, because the disadvantage here, those sites were incredibly unlevel. We had to add all kinds of leveling blocks to the front jacks and to the under the wheels, and it was kind of crazy when you see the pictures and see what we had to do to raise her up. And we eventually did get her level, but yeah, so there's no concrete pads, there's no full hookups, so you got to be ready to have your own water, your own sewer. However, that said, the bathroom facilities at State Park were immaculate.
They were very nice.
Oh my gosh, at least at Proud Lake here, they had separate individual shower rooms, they had beautiful bathrooms, all well maintained, actually looked fairly new, and so that was really nice too.
Well, in addition with these amenities, I mean, we talked about all the things there were to do at Jellystone. I was very surprised Proud Lake had some activities that were planned. For instance, you could go there in the morning. They had an arts and crafts, and they had, come for coffee and bagels. So they had some things going on. I did not get to do the arts and crafts because we were busy judging our barbecue contest. But they had a park ranger out there that would help children with fishing, and that was talking about the fish in the lake and the different things. And there were plenty of nature trails that you could hike on, and we took our e-bikes on them. And so that, it was nice.
Yeah, I thought it was a beautiful state park. Proud Lake was really beautiful. You mentioned the e-bikes, and I thought that was really funny. We were going off on one of the trails.
No, it wasn't funny.
Oh, it was funny.
No, it was not funny.
We were going off on the trail, and right where the map was for the trail, there's like one of those wooden signboards with the map of the trail. We stopped and we're looking at it, and you're kind of like, my bike doesn't feel right.
I'm getting a shock.
You're like,
I'm getting electrocuted.
Why is my... And I started kind of like feeling it a little bit too, and you were like, ow, I can't touch my bike, and I look up above us, and there are these massive high tension lines, these high power lines above us, and we're right under them in our e-bikes.
I skedaddled.
And
very fast.
And I actually did look up, and for those that have followed us a while know that I was a former electrical engineer, and I started thinking, okay, how did this work? And I looked up, did a little bit of research. This is a known phenomenon. In fact, it doesn't even have to be an e-bike, just being a metal frame under those power lines, just through induction, you can actually generate a static charge, just like you get shocked in your house on a doorknob. And it was amazing. I mean, you go under those, and there's so much copper and coils and everything in an e-bike that we were touching. It was like, you could really feel the shock.
I could feel it. Yeah. I could feel it. Yeah, not fun.
And I remember when we came back on that trail, we're heading up there. You're like cranking the e-bike all the way and like zooming through under the power line.
I was not going to stop there again. But it's beautiful. The trails were beautiful. Now they're not paved. They were dirt and rock and gravel. Yeah. But beautiful, beautiful countryside for us to drive through or ride our bikes through.
Well, let's also talk a little bit about, we talked about how Jellystone was kind of this Carnival Cruise Line, atmosphere a little bit. I would say, to be honest, I was shocked at the state park. I was actually, knowing we were going to be there over a weekend, and this particular state park is fairly near Metro Detroit, so lots of population within an hour of this state park.
And it was full. It was full that
over the weekend.
was
It filled
completely
100%.
full.
Yep. I was expecting this wild party atmosphere and people being loud and all that. And I was just, and I mean this in a very good way, shocked that, here we are Friday night, Saturday night. We've got our little campfire going, and you can hear maybe a little bit of music in the distance, very, very light. You can look out at all the different sites, and people are sitting around their campfires. Families, you can tell that families reserved 3 and 4 sites next to each other. They'd set up these big, massive tents and have buffets in them and things. Everyone was respectful and quiet, and boy, once quiet hours hit, there was no noise at all. And I don't know if it's just that people know that the state park rangers are not going to allow it. Is it just that people were in general more respectful? I don't know. But in this, and again, we're talking about just this state park on this weekend, but it was a sold out weekend in July, and it was great.
It was enjoyable. Yeah, we had a great time there.
Yeah, I think everything was just amazing.
Well, a couple of the things that we did here, one of the things is we added to our sticker map of states that we've stayed in. We kind of completed that with the different states that we've been in here lately. So that was nice. And just judging barbecue was a lot of fun. Got to meet up with our friends and just enjoyed great barbecue, had a good time there. Barbecue competitions are always the best.
Yeah, well, especially this one. This is Westland, the All-American Barbecue Throwdown. And this was actually the very first barbecue competition we ever judged years ago. So we always like to come back to this one. And they do an amazing job here at this one, too.
Yeah, that's so much fun.
It is.
Yeah, if you're ever interested in getting involved in judging barbecue or even competing, go to kcbs.us and you can find out more there.
Yep. Well, we did have the dirty work to do too. Since we didn't have water or sewer on the way out after our 4 days, we did have to stop by the dump station. That's free and included if you're staying there at the state park. So we cleaned out Gracie. Now we have a macerator pump, so really we can do a black and gray tank dump even if they're completely full in 5 to 10 minutes, and that's including flushing them and everything else. So it is kind of good that Gracie's pretty quick to clean out there. Well, Nancy, there we go. We got Jellystone on one end of the spectrum, and we've got the state parks on the other end. What's your thoughts on both?
Well, I like them both. Jellystone was perfect with the grandkids. It was just absolutely a perfect place to go and to vacation with the children. The state park, though, was just really nice for you and I. I enjoyed that a lot, too. So we're kind of comparing apples to oranges a little bit here because they're so different, but yet they were both very enjoyable. Yeah.
I overall had a good time with them. If we're just pulling out with Gracie, state park every day of the week, that's going to be for us, especially more quiet, things of that nature. But if you got the kids, how can you not take them to a place like Jellystone? They're going to have a great time there. You just got to know that it is a financial investment too to take them there, that it is pretty pricey. So I think, like you said in summary, we enjoyed both, but just very different, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, what do you guys think? Developed parks, state parks, campgrounds, national parks. We want to hear all your comments, so we always love to hear from our Phase 2 flock out there. Let us know your thoughts on this. If you stayed at other Jellystones around the country, because there's many of them around, what was your experiences there? Was it kind of like we talked about at the Bartlett Lake Jellystone, or was it a completely different experience in other places? So we'd love to hear from you there.
All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you being here. Be sure to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and we will be seeing you very soon. Have a beautiful day. Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Got a dang fly in here, too.
Yeah.
It's going around.
Oh, you can't.
I'm ready for him. Okay, all right.